to be present here today in the midst of such a distinguished gathering on the occasion of the inaugural session of the Delhi Sustainable Development Summit 2013. I congratulate the Energy and Resource Institute and Dr. Pachori for this initiative and for their unstinted commitment to sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, the world community met in Rio last year on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the path-breaking Rio Summit of 1992. Rio +20 was a poignant reminder that the ambitious goals that we had set for ourselves at the Rio Earth Summit in 1992 remain far from being realized. It also served to remind us that a meaningful consensus on environmental and ecological issues is perhaps harder to achieve today than it was some 20 years ago. But it is not as if we have achieved nothing during this period. We have witnessed an extraordinary and welcome growth of environmental consciousness in the world, and we can take great satisfaction from the fact that sustainable development today is an accepted and an integral part of international discourse. The global environmental agenda and the global development agenda are now closely interlinked, with the economic, environmental and social pillars of sustainable development providing a sound framework. The Rio Principles of 1992 are still seen as relevant and fundamental and were reaffirmed at Rio +20. We in our country take due satisfaction in this development. Some 40 years ago, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was one of the few leaders of the developing world to be present at the Stockholm conference. Even then, she had made our commitment to environmental protection clear. But she had also pointed out that our challenge was ensuring development for all. In addition, there are genuine concerns that in an unequal world, scarcity of resources would affect the poor more adversely, and key resources may become accessible only to a small selection of people in this planet, leading to the exclusion of a large number of people who live with poverty and persistent deprivation. Resource efficiency is thus a critical element of inclusive growth and development agenda. The challenge is to build resilient and efficient economies which will eradicate poverty and also ensure that the poor already living on the margins of survival are not made even more vulnerable. As a corollary, we should enhance efforts to develop technologies that ensure efficiency gains, which allow for more equitable distribution and use of these available resources. A global growth model which is both inclusive and sustainable would also assist developing countries to pursue their national development objectives. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change has become the face of many challenges in our pursuit of sustainable development. This problem can only be tackled through coordinated global action. It is therefore crucial to look at sustainable development from a global rather than a purely national perspective. Nevertheless, given the varying levels of development across the world, it is important that our responses be predicated on the principle of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities. I am happy that the recent Doha Climate Conference reaffirmed these principles. They should form the bedrock of future arrangements post-2020, and we should ensure that the development aspirations and poverty reduction efforts of the developing countries are not constrained. The adoption of the second commitment period till 2020 under the Kyoto Protocol for emission reduction by the industrialized world is also a welcome development. But real progress cannot be achieved if developed countries are not willing to enhance their ambition levels. For its part, our country is committed to meeting its domestic mitigation goal of reducing the emission intensity of our GDP by 20 to 25% by the year 2020 compared with 2005 levels. We have already taken several major steps on the path of low carbon growth. Now is the time for the richer industrialized countries to show that they too are willing to move decisively along this path. If they fail to do that in the commitments they will make under the Kyoto Protocol and other agreements, then it will be difficult to persuade governments, industry, and the general public in India and other developing countries to step up the pace at which they are moving on this path. When we talk about efficient use of resources, we have to also focus on many other areas which are crucial in ensuring the sustainability of the Earth's ecosystem. Biological diversity is an important environmental resource for developing countries, which touches the lives of common people. We have to ensure that this is preserved and used carefully, gainfully, and sustainably. Last year, India hosted the 11th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Convention on Biodiversity in Hyderabad. An important outcome was the recognition of biodiversity as a driver of sustainable development and environmental protection, and an agreement to create institutional mechanisms that would facilitate financial and technological flows to developing countries for protecting biodiversity. We hope that the decisions taken will be fully implemented. Ladies and gentlemen, we in India are fully conscious of the need to conserve our resources through their utilization in a truly sustainable manner. We believe that efficient use of resources has to begin with ensuring the efficiency of use of human resources, and this requires building skills, capabilities, and systems by which countries can ensure higher efficiency in every human endeavor. In Hyderabad last year, I announced an allocation of $50 million as part of the Hyderabad pledge to strengthen the institutional mechanism for biodiversity conservation in India. In the field of climate change, our National Action Plan on Climate Change is now an important part of our development strategy, both nationally and at the level of states. One of its 8 missions mandates the establishment of 20,000 megawatts of power generating potential using solar energy within the next 10 years. I also recall launching from this very platform in 2008 the TERI program on lighting 1 billion lives. I am informed that this program is now benefiting around 2,000 villages in our country, where families and households are using lanterns charged by solar energy to provide them with clean, reliable and pollution-free light. This program has also been extended to countries in Africa and other parts of Asia. The involvement of the private sector has helped in expanding this approach through market-based dissemination of solar lanterns and other forms of decentralized lighting system for pursuing a resource-efficient and sustainable development strategy. I thank you for your attention.